Welcome back to LimQ Plus, everyone. On this channel, I'm 100%ing Breath of the Wild by a bit every day until Tears of the Kingdom comes out, which is today in 24 days. Now, if you've recently followed my Twitch channel at all, you know that pretty much all I have been doing is theory crafting, breaking down the trailers, etc. And I said in a previous video that I'm not going to talk too much about story, but in today's video it's kind of inevitable because I kind of want to summarize everything, so I just want to warn you. I'm going to do these spoiler warnings now because I'm going to talk about things that could end up appearing in the game. They might not, and I might be completely wrong about everything, but I just want to warn you. If you don't want to think about these things, maybe keep a thought in your mind and then you go into the game and you're like, oh wow, it's actually like LimCube said and it doesn't feel as cool anymore. That's just my warning for you. It can happen. So I think as we get closer to the game, these warnings make sense. Now, what I want to talk about today is the significance and importance of dragons in Tears of the Kingdom. Something I feel like we have overlooked for a little bit. I think we kind of got baited because the reason we always thought these dragon statues are, these dragon icons are basically part of the logo is because all of us thought, yeah, I mean, it's about the Zonai, right? Like, we need to find out what happened with the Zonai. It was always about the Zonai. And technically that makes sense to me. Also, by the way, I'm looking for some ancient arrows because I need to beat the shrine with the Guardians. That's what I'm gonna get now. But, in fact, this goes deeper. The reason the Zonai built dragon statues, in my mind now, is because, and this was also brought up in Tears of the Kingdom, not in Tears of the Kingdom, in creating a champion before, is because they worship dragons. They worship the water dragon, and the book even goes that they built the Spring of Courage, which also hints towards that dragons were important to them. I've been thinking more about the mysterious figure that we've seen in the Tears of the Kingdom trailer, and that we have also seen, that I talked about yesterday in my video about the story, if you've seen it. The one that presumably talks to Zelda. A lot of people have called them Goat Man. I spoke out about the fact that I believe they very much resemble a dragon, presumably one of the dragons that the Zonai worshipped. And more recently, I've made the observation that this dragon also has something resembling kind of like moth antennas. And this is where it clicked for me. What are moths essentially known for? They fly into the light. And in fact, Radiance, a boss in Hollow Knight that's all about the light, is a moth. So I now believe this very mysterious figure to be the Dragon of Light. I think it's a new dragon, presumably the one that we see around the Great Sky Plateau in some of the screenshots. That's what I believe their identity is. Now, a lot of people have talked about the 7 tiers, 7 sages theory, and there's sages for a lot of elements in Ocarina of Time. And I believe these dragons that the Zonai are worshipping are these... They're not the sages themselves, but they're their original forms, in my opinion. That's how they're so significant. I think all of the sages eventually go on to... or basically, they have a dragon form they originate from. So all of these dragons, I think, go on to reincarnate. This is where the Lotus Flower comes in. To become a new person. Now, this makes perfect sense. We could basically say that Naboru, the Dragon of Spirit, goes on to eventually become Riju and stuff like that, right? And that Zelda basically always says Zelda. The Dragon of Light could eventually go on to become Link. This makes sense because Link now has that person's arm power. Maybe they just lend Link the power, he doesn't actually become them. It is currently unclear, but I want to speculate about more today is the dragons that we haven't seen yet. And I actually made a pretty big and interesting observation. One that confused me a lot before, but suddenly makes a lot more sense. By the way, I'm going up to the Sanctum here to get that chest with 5 ancient arrows, hoping that I haven't gotten it before, but I don't... Oh, maybe I actually did. Wait, maybe I actually did, because I definitely got the Korok up there. Well, I'll find some ancient arrows eventually. If you want to think more about the sages, there's actually two elements that we haven't seen at all in terms of dragons that could show up in Tears of the Kingdom. There's the Sage of Shadow, which even back then in Ocarina of Time is Impa. We know Impa is back in the game, and this is where it clicked for me for real. The dragon creature that shows up that I called the Dragon of Light. Okay, yeah, the ancient arrows are gone, by the way. That I called the Dragon of Light. Has something resembling a Sheikah eye on their forehead, right? And that always confused me. But what if that's exactly what it stands for? What if the Dragon of Shadows has that third eye as well, but it's opened? Basically polar opposites, right? Direct opposites. I definitely know there's an ancient arrow down here at the docks. This makes perfect sense because Impa and all of the Sheikah have a third drawn eye on top of their foreheads. And the Sheikah are considered the Shadow folk. So maybe we'll meet a Dragon of Shadow. And now to top this theory like even more, and this is where I'm exactly careful, because if this ends up being the case and people maybe this could be a big surprise in the game, what I'm about to say. Again, I could be completely wrong and it's not even close, but if this ends up being a surprise in the game, I think people might get annoyed about the fact that they've heard about this before. And what I'm talking about is, what if there is a... also, I'm getting completely bombarded. I need to actually focus on the game for a second. What if there is a Dragon of Shadows in Tears of the Kingdom, but they are underground? And that's why we've never seen them. If you remember me talking about the cloud barrier yesterday, and that potentially being the reason... I basically have a theory for every dragon, okay? So what if the Dragon of Light was behind the cloud barrier, guarding kind of like the sky plateau, right? Now their dragon form from now in the game. The Dragon of Shadow is hiding somewhere underground, right? Potentially that's why we've never seen him. And there's also a Sage of the Forest. So if there's also a forest dragon, I don't know exactly where we would find them, but it is very curious that we haven't seen Korok Forest or the Deku Tree at all. People have thought about the Deku Tree potentially being in the sky or whatnot, but what if the Deku Tree itself potentially had a dragon form? This would also explain that we see new cherry blossom trees, stuff like that. Like, maybe that's how that all ties into it, that we also get a forest dragon and it's related to the Deku Tree's sudden disappearance. This could be very big if this all ends up being true, and I'm really excited to explore the dragons more and what they really mean for the deep lore and the actual story. But I do really believe that that's going to be a major centerpiece of the game now. Everything checks out so well, and I think dragons are going to be one of... There's the Ancient Arrow finally, holy. And I think... the dragons are going to be really significant. That's basically the point that I'm making. Just to top this off with one stronger point that I've recently heard a lot. The themes for Tears of the Kingdom prominently feature the erhu, which is a Chinese violin, which in Breath of the Wild was only used for the dragon theme, right? If you encounter a dragon in Breath of the Wild, you have that theme play with the Chinese violin, and now it's prominently featured in the main theme. That again makes me believe that we will see much more dragons in Tears of the Kingdom, and that they're gonna play a major role, and the people that we have been teased about might be their origin forms. The mysterious people from some of the screenshots in the past. Please let me know what you think. By the way, I actually am not mad if people are trying to discredit what I'm saying. I love when people give additional insight and tell me their theories instead. It's really fun for me to give it thought and then kind of formulate my opinion and thinking even more as we get closer to the game. By the way, today's session was extremely unfruitful. I've literally gotten one Ancient Arrow, but that's fine. One Ancient Arrow is actually technically all I need. I can use Urbosa's Fury for the rest of these Guardians. So let me just win bomb closer today. I didn't really get any percentage points done today, but we still have enough time. Tomorrow I'll go over to these Guardians and yeah, nice. That was very laggy. And eventually defeat them. But again, let me know what you think about these points and the significance of dragons in Tears of the Kingdom. I'm gonna actually save right here, fight these Guardians tomorrow, and with that finish up Zora's Domain and probably make my way over to Elden next, and then we do Rito at the end, because I guess I should have actually done this Dragon Shrine today. That would have made a lot of sense. But anyway, thank you for watching as always. Tears of the Kingdom in 24 days. I'll see you guys tomorrow.